Alright. Welcome back to... Excuse me. Nick Lenz's Comic Corner. Classic / non-classics. Let me... I forgot to do something here. Hang on. Here. This will take just a minute. Alright. There it is. Okay, so this is going to be episode 3242, Doubleshot number 3136. First, now we're discussing two Hellboy trades. B.P.R.D Omnibus. Let's also discuss some Abe Sapien. Yes, so the stories this one are the following: The Devil's Engine, The Return of the Monster, The Long Death, The Pickens County Horror, The Transformation of J.H. O'Donnell, and The Abyss of Time. Mike Mignola mostly does the writing here, and the co-writing duties are done by at least about 2 or 3 different writers. We have Kenny does the first 3 stories. Skyno does the 4th and 5th story, and he comes back to that one. Tyler Crook does the first 2 stories here. Yes, and what issues of the B.P.R.D ongoing does this cover? Oh. So it covers for, let's see, The Long Death. That's one of its first Collins one here. That covers issues 87, 88, and 90. Pickens County Horror is issues 89 and 91. Devil's Engine is 92, 94, 96. The Transformation of J.H. O'Donnell is issue number 93. You're thinking, okay, what about The Abyss of Time? Is that like some... or Return of the Monster? I'm looking right here. Let's see. Okay, Return of the Master. Okay, Return of the Master. That's another one here. That is issues 98 to 102. That's according to the legacy for the series. But what about The Abyss of Time? For some reason, the Dead Remember. That's not in here. No, it's not. Let's see. Of course, this was originally printed in the Hell on Earth B.P.D volumes 4 through 6. Here we go. So, The Abyss of Time is issues 103 and 104. Yeah, that was the only one, so It's like the only one not in here is Exorcism. Now, Return of the Master, that is actually, believe it or not, that's actually one of the later stories, this one. Yes. So, Devil's Engine, like I said, is basically is 92 to 92, 94, 96. The Long Death is 87, 90. Pickens County Horror is 89, 91. The Transformation John Donald is 93. The Best Time is 103, 104. And Return of the Master, 98 to 102. And that's surprising as far as they did with it. I'm actually surprised they actually didn't go. Well, in case you wonder about the Hell on Earth stuff, there's still a lot more traits this one. Oh gosh, yes, there is. Excuse me. Yeah, so for the Hell on Earth stuff, that's going to go on for another 3 more volumes, and then the last one's all Devil You Know. Yeah. So, the obvious question is, what the heck happened in these issues? Well, in The Devil's Engine, by the way, love this cover artwork. It's awesome. It's basically all about, the whole story is set on a railway train. Well, basically one of the big ones. Yeah, involve a little bit of Nazi stuff here, but that's mostly, it's basically trying to deal with monsters while basically dealing with a train. And that's kind of the gist of the Devil's Engine stuff. Yeah, battling monsters with the whole, while Hell on Earth is going on. That's kind of what this one is. The Long Death focuses on the guy in the suit. I think his name is John. Yes. Something's taking control of him, like some monster. But it's just a dream. Of course, there's a baby being baptized. There's monsters show like a little bit into this. Of course, you have some monsters, obviously, but it's like the story is very. This one we can call it The Long Death. It's like this very tame compared to the previous one. It's like confined to one area instead of like being one small area instead of battling on a train. That's kind of what the story is. Also, basically, the monster deal with a giant moose. Yep. Also, the guy with a scar on his face, he actually appears in here, and he is more deformed than he once was. And he goes freaking nuts battling this monster. Look if this is confined to the woods, not, let's say, in some major area. And then with the Pickens County Horror. Yep. Well, the whole thing is basically a family dealing with the horrors of and we see it's a flashback story where Hellboy himself shows up. Despite the fact, during this whole thing, Hellboy's dead. Yes, Hellboy is deceased. He actually gets revived at the end of this whole storyline. Yep, yeah, he does. Excuse me, yes. Of course, they do reference Plague of Frogs, which was the first one. Yep. Because, of course, they bring back the Plague of Frogs and stuff because it's all craziness up the wazoo here. It definitely feels like a big horror story, this one. A little more horror than usual, but I thought once it was really good. Next came the transformation of J.H. O'Donnell. And this is another story that features Hellboy. Yes, Hellboy this is a flashback story for him. And this is, of course, before his death. And he basically has to deal with one monster, also another confined area. And then we have the Abyss of Time, where the world is, apparently we see Chicago where it's in ruins. Of course, more monsters are about. It's almost like this whole area has become like a post-apocalyptic wasteland because of all the monsters being about. And Hellboy was supposed to protect the world from this stuff, but because he was killed, that actually allowed this to happen. Yep. And this is more intense. This whole return, and then we have Return of the Master. Yep. You think this is revolve like Return of a Character? By the way, you have one character missing from these issues. I mean, yeah, Hellboy is dead, obviously. You're probably thinking, where the heck is Abe Sapien? Well, there is basically his spin-off book that does explain where the heck he is. He got a spin-off book, so he doesn't necessarily appear in this book per se. Not really. We also have a guy basically carving himself, and it's mostly about dealing with the character Black Flame. That's kind of what the story is. We deal with him, but it's not the return of Black Flame. And this is like the other ones, a 3-part story. Yep. But the story here is excellent. Actually, it's a 4-parter. I think the highest, I think as Michael is maybe 5 parts, but B.P.R.D stories generally goes highest than Michael was like 3 or 4, but they never go any further than that. We have more demons rise from the ground, and then we have this creature pop up here again. Probably it's going to need Pope. He's one behind the creatures that are here. I don't know if he's the architect behind the Hell on Earth stuff, but we also see this little girl in a jar who just laughs at Black Flame, who speaks German, by the way. And the book ends with a giant, basically, like, it's the Russian brand. It looks like Russia himself is showing up at the end of this. And that's the end of that. You ever think there's anything else after that? Not particularly, no. It's mostly put a lot of sketches. Really good sketches, mind you. Well, this book was really good. I give this book roughly a 10 out of 10. The book was that damn good. Next up we have is sadly put the final trade for Abe Sapien. The Dark and Terrible, Volume 2. Excuse me. There it is. Abe Sapien. So the stories in here are pretty much in a way the rest of the stories not collected in the previous volume for the series. Which are Land of the Dead, Darkness So Great, Shadow over Sweeney, The Garden 2 and 3, Black Skull, Regression, Dark, Terrible, Deep, and Distant Shore. The final issue of this book is interesting. I'll get to that because, by the way, the legacy issue of this book are issues 18, 28, 32, 34, 36, 38, 39, and 41 to 46. Yeah, a lot of issues. First up, Dark and So Great. And those beginning at this point, is the Hell on Earth stuff going on? I think this is just prior to Hell on Earth. By the way, Abe Sapien has deserted his duties as Agent B.P.R.D. And this is him mostly put on the run. And he gets into series of adventures throughout this whole thing. And by the end of this, like, there's an explosion happening. He's barely alive. And then he's brought into a van that has the symbol of the B.P.R.D. Which means he's going back to the B.P.R.D. And that kind of ended the book, per se. Yes, after 46 issues, which is shorter than Hellboy. And keep in mind the last issue was released 9 years ago. Yeah. Dark Horse has not released any more Abe Sapien books. You probably think, is there a reason why we haven't gotten more Abe Sapien books? Honestly, no idea. Yeah, by the way, this covered volumes 6 through 8. What's Dark and So Great is from issues 28-32. The Garden, which is the second one, that's 38-39. Black School is a one-shot issue, is issue 41. Regression, which is a two-parter, that's 42-43. The Dark Togi, 44. The Garden 3, that's issue 45. And Distant Shore is the final issue of the series. And there's an afterword in the book. And that's kind of the book in a nutshell. Yeah. But kind of weirdly with this one, I'm not sure why. Dark Horse, this is really weird because this is like the third and last one of the cover. But for some weird reason, they started not with the Drowning when it comes to collecting these omnibuses. They started with the Dark and Terrible story arc. I'm not really sure exactly why, but that's what they did. Yeah. Oh. Excuse me, but... The end of this book was really good. I give this book a 10 out of 10. Final thoughts on the Abe Sapien series. Because kind of with that, 3 books done. Because these are omnibus, that's why I basically said this book quickly. An amazing book. Mike Mignoli and Scott, despite his allegations in the last year, the guy was a fantastic writer. Yeah, he did an excellent job with the book. As for why the book had to end at issues in 2016, now, you're probably thinking, was it because the allegations came out about him? No. The allegations that came out. I think that may have been the reason why the book had to end, because of the allegations against him. So, yeah. He hasn't part of the company since 2017. The last thing he wrote for the company was B.P.R.D, The Devil You Know. You're probably thinking, like, what part of that storyline did he write? He wrote just the first 10 issues. But basically, the book ended with 162. But not much, like I said, not much else to say about these two books. Like, they're both really good. B.P.R.D, I have 4 more volumes to go, and I'll be done with omnibuses. In the case of Ape Sapien, I'm placing with Witchfinder. Yep. But yeah, that's particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up we have is another comic corner, and it's back to... And it's not the One Piece today, okay? Next video.